Wow, today's lesson can be a difficult one for many. Day 16 on our spiritual journey towards living a more generous life. Did you read the blog this morning? The one that goes along with the video? It talks about in building projects, leadership gifts can glorify God and result in great generosity and rejoicing. This is talking about leaders. This is talking about me. This is talking about the church elders. This is talking about the people that sit on the board. Our actions, the way that we lead, can result in great generosity and rejoicing. The other side of the coin is similar. If we do not lead well, it can lead so that God is not glorified, and so that there is stinginess and people bickering and complaining. As the leader goes, so goes the church. Now we know that's not true in all cases. We know that Moses was a great man of God. He was a man of faith. He was giving and generous in what he was doing. He was doing what God's will was, and the people still bickered and complained. But here in our text in Chronicles, 2 Chronicles chapter 29, it's the story there of David, this building project. That's what the principle is teaching in the building project. It says the whole assembly came together and David stood up and said, "This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take from my treasury. I'm going to take from my retirement account. I'm going to take from my nest egg, and I'm going to generously give it for the building of the temple of God." David may not have asked his wives about that. He may not have asked his children about that. He may have simply done what he felt like God was asking him to do. Now, some of us are uncomfortable with that. And some of us leaders are uncomfortable with that. Some of the people are uncomfortable with that. I remember one pastor, he stood up and he was talking about, "I return 40% of my income back to the Lord in tithes and offerings." And his congregation was like, "Wow, isn't he a bit braggadocious? Why is he bragging like that? Why is he saying such things?" But then on the other side of the spectrum is we have the pastor or the church leader that he never tells the people what he's going to do. He never encourages the people. You know, David was one of those men that was a man after God's own heart. And here we see David saying exactly what he's going to do and then challenging the people. Who will do what I do? I'm going to challenge the leaders. Specifically, the leaders of the Chattanooga First Seventh-day Adventist Church, but also the leaders of other churches, the elders, the deacons, the people that are on the board. I'm going to challenge you. Are you glorifying God with your generosity? Is there great rejoicing because you are setting an example? I encourage you to give generously. Return the minimum amount of tithe, 10%, but then to give beyond that. I know many that give a second 10%. I know many that give a third 10%, and even some that are on their fourth 10%. When we do that, the generosity begins to flow. The rejoicing begins to happen. When David stood up and said, "This is what I'm going to do," and he challenged the leaders, "Will you do likewise?" The leaders stood up and said, "Yes, we will give also." And then the congregation came forward and said, "We will give also." You're a leader. Will you give generously to the cause of God?